Hello Pokemon fans, I'm Professor K for the Pokemon Evolutionaries, and today we're going to be going over the Sun and Moon 2 set, otherwise known as Guardians Rising, here in the United States and the rest of the English printings that you will find. This is actually the Japanese scans. Usually what we do is when the set comes out, myself and Collector Andrew go over these sets together, and we just kind of go over what the cards can do, what they look like, what you can expect, things like that. We've been a little bit late the last few times, but we always try to get these things out no matter what. So let's go ahead and kick things off here. We're going to take a look at the first card here of the set, which is just a Bellsprout. Nothing too special about this really as far as artwork goes. I mean, it's kind of neat, it's in the forest and stuff, but as far as playability goes, this line is not really going to bring any relevancy. Here is the Weepinbell as well, and we have our Victreebel. I kind of like the artwork on this Victreebel. It looks pretty neat. I find it to be like a very interesting, unique art style there. But again, I mean, you're looking at the attacks. Vine Whip on Bellsprout's not going to really do anything that fantastic. Usually it won't in a Stage 1 or a basic Pokemon out of a Stage 2 anyways. Stage 1, Weepinbell, nothing really too fantastic there either. Victreebel Pollen Hazard is very unique. In this current format where we have Forest Giant Plants, Pollen Hazard is kind of interesting in a fun deck, I think. It does 20 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned, burned, and confused. That's a bit crazy, I have to say for sure. It definitely is unique, that's for sure. And Victreebel is known for having these kind of attacks. Even the Furious Fist one was very similar to this. Stick and Absorb, Grass, and 2 colorless, 80 damage, heal 20 from this Pokemon. Your opponent's active Pokemon can't retreat during their next turn. So, there's a lot of different things you can do to just kind of mess with people with this Victreebel. But again, I don't see it coming into the competitive scene anywhere, but it's a neat card nonetheless. Here we have a Pdwinnall, this one here. There you go, there's take a look at that card there. And we have Lilligant. There you go. And again, you know, just standard filler cards really more than anything as far as playability goes. Neat looking, definitely for sure, but don't provide any competitive value. But we have Wimpod here. Another grass type. Rapid Escape. Shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your deck. Doesn't do any damage. It just kind of just ties into what the game does, you know, where you have to chase Wimpod. It's always running away. It's just bringing that into the TCG. And then Golisopod. Here we go. This one is a holo in Japan. Very, very intimidating looking Pokemon, that's for sure. Ability Armor. Damage done to this Pokemon by attack. Damage done to this Pokemon by attacks is reduced by 30. So that's pretty neat. It's already 130, which is pretty solid for a Stage 1 Pokemon to begin with, and all the attacks are going to deal 30 less damage. Resolute Claw is also a pretty good attack, does 80 damage for a grass and a double colorless. If the opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon GX or EX. So this hits for both of them. It does 70 more damage, reaching 150 total damage for grass and 2 colors, which is pretty darn strong in my opinion, up against Pokemon GX and Pokemon EX. And in the current kind of format that we're at right now, that's pretty big because you're reaching a lot of decks that are kind of heavy on both EX and GX. It's not really like one is sticking more than the other still. You're getting a blend right now, and of course that will change as time goes on when we get into the next rotation, and especially the rotation following, where I'm sure after not this upcoming rotation but the one after, we will lose EXs altogether in the format. But another kind of interesting thing here is we are getting back Victini. Now, if you guys were around for the black and white format, you would know that Victory Star ability is a reprint, and it's a pretty good one. Once during your turn, after you flip any coins for an attack, you may ignore all effects of those coin flips and begin flipping those coins again. You can't use more than one Victory Star ability each turn, so these do not stack. Doesn't matter how many you have in play, whether it be 1 or 4, you can only use it once, and it allows you to just reflip if you don't like your coin flips. So it's a reprint of that, and it has 1 attack, fire, and a colorless V-Flame for 50 damage. Now we're going to take a look at our first GX Pokemon here of Guardians Rising. Turtonator. What is that? How does that say Turntonator? I thought it was Turtonator. Okay. Either way, we got Trap Shell for 20 damage. If this Pokemon is damaged by an attack during your opponent's next turn, place 8 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So you can put Bursting Balloon on this, and it'll deal 20 damage. And then if they attack you, they'll get hit by 140 more. That's kind of crazy. A lot of damage, definitely. Also, the next attack here, we have Crimson Flame for 2 fire to colorless, 160 damage, discard 2 fire energy attached to this Pokemon. And Nitro Tank GX, attach 5 fire energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon any way you like. So it's essentially Soul Burst, but instead of coming out of the deck, it's coming out of the discard pile and it's only fire energy. So it's a pretty interesting card. I think that it's got some possibilities in the game, but we'll have to see how that goes. Single fire energy for that, pretty crazy. All right, next up here we have a Lowland Sandshrew. A Lowland Sandshrew has 1 attack here at the very beginning. All the Alolan Pokemon can attack for free with one of their attacks, and it is Defense Curl, Flip Coin if heads, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks during your opponent's next turn. We have a Lowland Sandslash here, pretty neat. It reminds me very much of Empoleon, except for you don't have to discard anything. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may draw a card. It's also like Slurpuff, I guess, actually. That's probably a more relevant selection there. And you can draw an extra card. We also have an attack, Smash Turn for a water to double colorless, 50 damage, switch this Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. Alright, we have another Alolan Pokemon here. This is a Lowland Vulpix, 60 HP. Its free attack is Guidance. Search your deck for up to 2 Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. And then Snow Ice for double colorless does 20 damage. Then a Lowland Ninetales GX, a very cool card. For a double colorless, Ice Blade does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Blizzard Edge, 160 damage, discard 2 fire energy, or 2 energy attached to this Pokemon. I don't know why I said fire. Ninetales is obviously water type in this one. And Clear Gate GX, move all damage counters from this Pokemon to your opponent's active Pokemon. So that is kind of cool. Being able to move everything, it's very, very similar to Mewtwo EX's attack, but you can only do this once per game, and it's for a double colorless. Alright, next up we got Delibird, 90 HP. This one's chilling on the beach asleep. I'm sure it's way too warm for him here on this island. Gangam present, flip a coin if heads, search your deck for 1 card, put it in your hand, then shuffle your deck, and then surprise attack, 40 damage, flip a coin if tails this attack fails. Alright, we got Snorunt here. There you go. Kind of neat, just chilling in the fridge. gotta say that's pretty cute. I like that card a lot. And we have Glalie here. Glalie, Crunch, 40 damage, flip a coin if heads, discard an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon, and Raging Ice Ball, 70 damage, and if it has any damage counters on it, does 80 more. But it's 3 water energy, not completely irrelevant, coming up with the card in this set, but I don't think it's going to have any competitive value. Alright, Vanillite, bringing back the ice cream cones, triple spin, flip 3 coins, does 10 damage times the number of heads, Vanillish Ice Shard, 30 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon is fire type, this attack does, I'm sorry, it's fighting type, does 30 additional damage. So here's our Vanillish and our Vanillite. And now we have Vanillix. Hail does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. You don't apply weakness or resistance for the benched Pokemon. And then the other attack here is Frozen Breath, 80 damage. You may discard 2 water energy attached to this Pokemon. If you do, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. Oh boy, here we go. So thrilled about this one, guys. He's finally back after all this time. Helioptile. Thundershock, 10 damage, flip a coin if heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed, and Heliolisk, it has 2 attacks. Quick attack, 20 damage, flip a coin if heads, this attack does 20 more damage, and then Raging Thunder for 120 damage, this attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Then we have a very, very good card in my opinion in this set, and that is Tapu Koko GX, 170 HP, Lightning type. The ability is just great. Once during turn before you attack, when you play this card from your hand onto your bench, you may move any number of lightning energy attached to your Pokemon to this Pokemon. If you move any energy, switch this Pokemon with your active Pokemon. Next up, we got Skyclaw, 130 damage for 2 lightning and a colorless, and then its GX attack, Tapu Thunder GX, for the same energy requirement, does 50 damage times the number of energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. That is pretty darn good, especially now that we have a little card called Acerola. If this thing has any damage on it, you can pick it up and all the cards attached to it, and yeah, just keep recirculating Tapu Kokos. It's kind of cool. You just got to make sure you got enough energy out in play, but that's not too hard to do. Obviously, max elixirs, and you can actually use Electrode even as a lightning energy. It's kind of crazy, but it's a good card nonetheless. All right, we have Slow. Headbutt, 10 damage, and Whimsy Tackle, 60 damage for the coin if Tails' attack does nothing, and everybody's favorite, Slowbro. Very reminiscent to me of the Pokemon in the Orange Islands. This kind of artwork here. All right, Amnesia, 20 damage. Choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks. That Pokemon cannot use that attack during your opponent's next turn. And Endeavor, 50 damage. But if this Pokemon is poison or burn, it does 80 more damage. We've got Gothita here, one of the clay models that's actually in real life. Love that. Blown Kiss, place 1 damage counter on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Gothorita, right here, trying to lead you down the very dangerous looking walkway, I guess there. In the forest, we've got a Slap, 20 damage for a Psychic. Psybeam, 30 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. Now we have Gothitelle. Gothitelle is pretty well known for a certain style of attacks, and this does not have any kind of difference in my opinion. Tractor Beam, choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, switch it with the opponent's active Pokemon, then do 30 damage to the new active Pokemon. Very well known for kind of trickster type attacks. And then Link Blast, very much the same as Gardevoir. If this Pokemon and your opponent's active Pokemon have the same amount of energy attached to them, it does 80 more damage. Alright, we're moving into the fighting types now. We got Machop showing off his muscles. Double Chop, 30 damage. Flip 2 coins. His attack does 30 damage times the number of heads. Now we've got Machoke. Machoke is actually kind of very, it's very interesting. It's got a very unique ability. Intimidating Stance. Prevent all damage and the placement of damage counters from your opponent's attacks and abilities to your benched Pokemon. So this is Mr. Mime on steroids. Literally on steroids. I think it's pretty good. It's nice support Pokemon to sit on the bench. And we got Cross Chop here, 30 damage. Flip a coin if heads. This attack does 30 more damage. Now this ability will actually stop Decidueye from placing those damage counters, so this could really be game changing for Decidueye. We got a Machamp here as well. This is a holo in the Japanese set. Settling score, 20 damage. It does 80 more damage for each prize card your opponent took during their last turn. And Submission, 3 Fighting Energy, 150 damage, but it does 30 to itself. Here we've got Nose Pass, 20 damage for 2 colorless. Rising Lunge, 30 damage. Flip a coin of heads, this attack does 30 more damage. We got Barboach here, fighting type Barboach. Hook and Mud Slap are the attacks. And we got Whiscash. I always think Whiscash is such a funny looking Pokemon. Water Pulse, 60 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. Landslide, 100 damage. Discard 3 cards from the top of your deck. It does 100 damage times the number of energy discarded. So the potential to hit for 300 is pretty crazy. Alright, we got our Nigel. Not really looking very Nigelish though in this particular picture, but Probopass. We've got Energy Connect for a Metal Energy, 30 damage, and you attach an energy card from your discard pile to this Pokemon. Power Gem does 120 damage, but it's 4 colorless energy. Way too much to ever be any good. We've got Clefairy here. Wait a minute. What? Is Pokebeach messing with us here? Or am I just reading this incorrectly? I don't know if he did that intentionally, if that's a joke. Yeah, that's 10 damage. We got Follow Me. Switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with the opponent's active Pokemon. Now, I'm using Pokebeach's website, so I can't be held accountable for that one. I did not know that was there. Oh boy. Alrighty then, let's move on to Clefable. Lullaby, 20 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. And Meteor Mash, 60 damage. During your next turn, this Pokemon's Meteor Mash does 60 more damage. There's Clefable there. And now we've got Comfey. Comfey is kind of a cool Pokemon. I don't know. For some reason, I really like it. And the way that this card is made out with the holographic, it just makes it look very whimsical and magical, in my opinion. Ability is Flower Shield. As long as this Pokemon is in play, each of your Pokemon with Fairy energy attached to it can't be affected by special conditions, and remove all special conditions already on those Pokemon. So that's a nice support Pokemon to prevent the upcoming status condition attacks and things like that. Alright, we move on to our Dragon types. We've got Drampa. Drampa is basic Pokemon, 120 HP. Amass. Search your deck for a basic energy card and attach it to this Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. Then we have Power Cyclone that does 80 damage, moving energy from this Pokemon to one of your benched Pokemon. We got Jangmo-O. Shell is its ability. Damage done to this Pokemon is by attacks is reduced by 10. And it has Dragon Claw for 30 damage for a lightning and a fighting. Hakamo-O. Hakamo-O. I can never say it correctly. Headbutt and Dragon Claw. But Dragon Claw is definitely more impressive, but it just costs an extra energy there. We got Komo-O. Komo-O GX. Oh my gosh. I don't know where they got out with these names. Alright. Adamantine Press. 30 damage during your opponent's next turn. This Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. We got Shred, 130. It goes through everything, not affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. And Fierce Uppercut GX, 240 damage, flat out, nothing special about it, just lots of damage. Alright, we got Chansey here. Colorless, obviously. Bind Wound, flip a coin if heads. Hail 30 damage from one of your Pokemon, and Hammer In does 80 damage. We got Blissey. Blissey, 160 HP. Obviously, quite tanky for a Stage 1, but that's what Blissey is known for, lots of HP. Farm Fresh Eggs is the ability once during your turn before you attack when you play this card. From your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may heal 80 damage from your active Pokemon. Then Double Edge, always a very high energy cost, 160 damage, and it always does a lot of damage to itself too, 80 damage. Man, that's a lot of damage, half the damage to yourself and being that expensive. Alright, Tailo, Reckless Charge, 20 damage, does 10 to itself. We got Swellow, 20 damage, flip a coin if heads, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. And Swallow Dive, 40 damage if this Pokemon used Agility during your last turn. This attack does 40 more damage, so this is pretty... Oh, 80 more damage, I'm sorry. This is pretty cool. You're doing 20. If you prevent the damage next turn, you're going to do 120 for a single colorless. Like, that's kind of... I'm actually kind of interested in that, but it's very, very risky. You could probably play it with Victini and flip the coin again if you hit a Tails. I don't know. Might be worth giving a shot. Alright, we got Komala here. Certain Sleep. If this Pokemon is your active when you attach an energy from your hand to this Pokemon, it puts it to sleep. Hypno Roll does 100 damage for 3 colorless, but it can only be used if the Pokemon is asleep. If it's not asleep, this attack does absolutely nothing. Alright, our first trainer card here is Energy Lotto. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. If there are any energy cards there, you may choose one, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Field Blower. Field Blower is pretty interesting, actually. Choose up to 2 in any combination of Pokemon tool cards and stadiums in play, both yours and your opponent's, and discard them. So, tool removal is back, ladies and gentlemen. This is a big deal for getting rid of Garbodor. Alright, we got Hala here. We got Shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 4 cards. If you've already used a GX attack in the game, draw 7 instead. So Hala is obviously very big on using your GX attack in order to use his card to get your maximum benefit. Alright, here we go. Ether Paradise Conservation Area. This is a stadium. Each player's grass and lightning Pokemon take 30 less damage from opponent's Pokemon's attacks. That's pretty solid. 30 less damage is always good. It's something, I'll tell you. I'm very impressed with that stadium. Alright, let's take a look at the Full Arts. Turtonator EX, Trap Shell, obviously, Crimson Flame, and Nitro Tank. This is just alternate artwork. We've got Full Art, which is absolutely gorgeous. Alola Ninetales GX. We've got Full Art Tapu Koko. Nice artwork on that as well. We've got Komo-O GX Full Art. And we got Hala. Hala looks very, very, very intimidating in this with the fire and the flames burning behind him. Here's our Hyper Rare slash Rainbow Rare. I think Hyper Rare sounds so much better. Alolan Ninetales GX. There's our Turtonator. I guess it is Turtonator GX. I don't know why I always thought it was Turtonator. There's Tapu Koko. And we've got Como GX. Alright, now we got secret rares. Secret rare Field Blower right off the bat, man. Just gets introduced to the game, and let's give it a secret rare printing. Why not? That's something. And we have Max Potion. We have not seen a secret rare Max Potion since Plasma Freeze, I want to say. It's been a while since we've seen Max Potion come in a secret rare. And then we have our secret rare Lightning Energy. Now, the other half of the Japanese set is Moonlight of Alola. The first one was actually Islands Waiting for You. So this is the other half, what we will see in Sun and Moon 2 Guardians Rising for English all together as one set. So there were 50... How many cards were in that? I didn't even count them now. 61, there's 62. 62 cards in that set. And there's at least 50 here, probably 62. It's going to be another big set, for sure. It's going to be over 140 cards. Alright, let's get things started here. This is game-changing for the expanded format. We're getting a Grass-type Phantump, Tackle, and Confuse Ray. The big deal behind this is now this gives this gives Trevenant decks in expanded access to Forest of Giant Plants, meaning that we can get turn 1 Trevenant off, locking items using the Trevenant from XY. Even though it's a Psychic type, you're evolving from a Grass type, so you can do it during the same turn. That, to me, is just nuts. Like, it's just bananas how good that is. And if you really wanted to, you could Wally up into Trevenant Break and just start dealing damage. Like, I can't believe how good that is. But anyways, that's just me. 60 HP, Tackle, and Confuse Ray. We've got a Grass-type Trevenant in the set as well. Poltergeist, 30 damage times your opponent reveals his or her hand. It does 30 times the 30 damage times the number of trainer cards in your opponent's hand. Whoo! In an item locking deck, can you imagine? Oh wow. Hornleech, 90 damage, deal 30 from this Pokemon. Gosh, Trevenant is just something. Alright, let's move on. We've got Fire type Litwick, Fire type Lampent, and we've got Chandelure. Shout out to Spectre. We got an ability, Shady Move. Once during your turn before you attack, you may move 1 damage counter from either player's Pokemon to another Pokemon, yours or your opponent's. And Super Cinch, 50 damage, your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. Alright, we got Salandit here, Scratch, and Venom Shock. And Venom Shock, if the defending Pokemon is poisoned, this attack does an additional 40 damage, so you're adding some damage there for sure. Now we have Salazzle. Salazzle has an ability called Hot Poison. Once during your turn before you attack, when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned and burned. Poison and burn. That's just showing you what direction we're going back into with special conditions in this game after quite a long break of not really having anything to do with any of them, actually. So that's kind of cool. We got Tentacool here. Tentacool, Sludge Shock, 10 damage. Your opponent's Pokemon cannot heal during the next turn. We've got a Tentacruel here, I'm sorry. Poison Sting and a Wild Tentacle. And now, Wailmer. Been a while since we've seen Wailmer. Bounce and Surf. Heavy energy cost to use that Surf attack, I'll tell you what. Now we got Wailord, one of the heaviest HP Pokemon of all time as a Stage 1, 200 damage. Dive, 40 damage, flip a coin. If heads, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. That's so trolly. Briny Depths, 80 damage. Each of your water Pokemon is healed by 30. Man, I'll tell you, Wailord just, he refuses to go down. Refuses. Alright, Alomomola. Let me talk correctly. Carry Ashore. Choose 1 basic Pokemon from either your discard pile or your opponent's discard pile and play it onto that player's bench. And Hydro Splash, 60 damage. Now this attack is kind of neat, being able to just kind of revive a Pokemon with an attack on either side of the field. We got Wishy-Washy. Ability is Schooling. Once during your turn before you attack, you may switch this Pokemon with a Wishy-Washy GX in your hand. It retains all attached cards, damage counter, special conditions, etc. And then Sharpshooting. This attack does 10 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. You don't apply a weakness or resistance for the bench, but that's kind of neat. You can put this thing down if you wanted to, and switch it out with this bad boy right here. 210 HP, Wishy-Washy GX. 3 attacks, Water Gun for 20, Micro Burst Vortex 120 damage, and you may discard a special energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon, but it's a 5 energy cost. Holy moly. Again, 5 energy cost, Blue Surge GX, 220 damage, move all energy attached to this Pokemon to your benched Pokemon in any way you like. So you're basically attacking and dispersing all of your energy back down onto every one of your Pokemon, and it deals a lot of damage. At least you don't have to discard it, I guess. That's the important thing. Okay, moving on to lightning types, we've got a Lowland Geodude. Its free attack is Rock Polish. During your turn, this Pokemon's retreat cost is 0 during your next turn. So this makes it, instead of 2, 0. Roll out 40 damage. A Lowland Graveler, lightning type, Thunder Punch, 50 damage if, flip a coin if heads. This attack does 20 more damage. If tails, it does 20 damage to itself. And Electro Bullet, 80 damage. This attack also does 20 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Now we got a Lowland Golem. There we got 2 attacks. Electro Rock Wrecker, 80 damage. Flip a coin for each lightning energy attached to this Pokemon. The attack does 80 damage times the number of heads. And Heavy Bomber, 200 damage, does 30 less damage times the number of energy in the retreat cost of your opponent's active Pokemon. So if they have no retreat cost, 200. If they have 1 retreat cost, 170. If they have 2 retreat cost, 140, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. Alright, Trubbish. The Garbage Bag, Stomp Off, discard the top card of your opponent's deck, and Drool for 30 damage. That's some toxic drool, let me tell you. Now we've got Garbodor. Fortunately, there's no abilities on this Garb. Trash Valance. Trash Valance. I love it. This attack does 20 damage times the number of item cards in your opponent's discard pile. Now that is a very unique and interesting attack that could potentially be put to use, I think, in a very late game circumstance to really just wipe your opponent off the field. Acid Bomb, 70 damage, flip a coin if heads, discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So to me, I feel like this is an alternative that you could take maybe like one Garb of this type with Trash Valance and replace it with one with Garbotoxin. I'm sorry, not replace it. You can do it alongside. Maybe you can do like a 1-1 line if you really wanted to, just to, I don't know, have a cleanup attacker or something like that. I don't think it's going to reach the top tables by any means, but it's kind of a neat idea. All right, Mimikyu. We got this one right here. This is a hollow. What is that in the background? Is that a substitute doll? It looks like a substitute doll back there, doesn't it? Huh. I didn't notice that until just now. Pilfer, draw 2 cards, and Mimic. If your opponent used an attack during his or her last turn, excluding GX attacks, use that attack as this attack. Neat, neat. Alright, Delmi's ability is Metallurgy. Metallurgy? Metallurgy? I don't know. I'm going to say Metallurgy. As long as this Pokemon is in play, each of your Metal Pokemon's attacks do 10 more damage to the opponent's active Pokemon. And Anchor Shot, 70 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon can't retreat during your next turn. Delmi's is a very interesting Pokemon to me. I don't know. It's definitely very unique and different, which is cool. But an Anchor? I didn't see that one coming, I have to say. Alright, the most hyped up and talked about card in this entire set, Tapu Lele GX. This card is just perfect in every sense of the word, honestly. This is the replacement to Shaman once it rotates out. Without a doubt, 100%, this is a mixture of a lot of different things. The 2 that come to mind in the first 2 attacks, the ability in the first attack, are Mewtwo and Jirachi EX. Now, Wonder Touch is essentially the same as Jirachi EX from Plasma Blast. Once during your turn before you attack, when you play this card from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Now, Jirachi EX was good back in the days of Standard when Black and White were in the format, but it only had 90 HP. This one has 170, which is just crazy good. Even Shaman at 110 is risky. But 170 pretty much assures that you're not going to get one-shotted by much, other than other Psychic-type Pokemon. So it's not as much of a liability on the bench, and it has a decent attack. Energy Drive, 2 colorless energy. Does 20 damage times the number of energy attached to both active Pokemon. The attack's damage isn't affected by weakness or resistance. This is the only thing that's hindering this attack from being absolutely busted as a Pokemon. because Mewtwo EX from Next Destiny's Legendary Treasures, they were reprinted there, had the same exact attack, X-Ball, but weakness and resistance were actually applied. This time it's not. This is more like Psychic Infinity meets X-Ball, where Mega Mewtwo's attack meets Next Destiny's Mewtwo. Energy Drive is a pretty darn good attack, and I feel like it will be able to hold its own as an attacker as well as a support Pokemon. And then it's GX attack. If that wasn't enough, Kapu, it's probably Tapu, it should be Kapu, not Kapu, but Tapu. I'm going to say it's probably Tapu Cure GX. Restore all HP to 2 of your benched Pokemon. This thing heals. It heals 2 benched Pokemon, 100%. How crazy is that? Like, this card has no bad qualities to it whatsoever. Zero. Nada. Zilch. It's just crazy how good this card is. You can expect this card right off the bat, pre-orders for singles to start off at 50 bucks. Without a doubt, like 100%. It doesn't really matter what rarity you pull. If you pull one of these, you've hit some money. That's the point. I mean, it's so good. It really is. All right, Gligar is next. 70 HP, double shot, does 10 damage to 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Gligar is always kind of a neat Pokemon to me. And Gliscor. Finishing Needle, 70 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon has no damage counters on it, this attack does nothing. So it has to have damage on it in order to do the 70 for 1 fighting energy. Pff, man, strong energy on this thing. 90 damage. Oh, that's good. Guillotine, 50 damage for fighting in double colors. Not nearly as good. We got a Pancham here. Fighting type. Karate Chop, 60 damage, minus 10 damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. And then we have Rockruff. Now, a lot of people were like, oh man, you know, Lycanroc GX in the promo box is great, but you have to have the promo Lycanroc in order to use any form of Lycanroc whatsoever. But here we finally have a set Rockruff, and it has 2 attacks. Corner, the defending Pokemon can't retreat during your opponent's next turn, and a Wild Kick. 30 damage, flip a coin. If Tails, this attack does nothing. Now, the difference, I guess, comes down to how you feel about the cards that are available to you. The other Rockruff, for a colorless, does 10 damage, and for a fighting and a colorless, does 20 damage, but they both have the same HP. This one's cuter for sure, though. The other one looks a little angry, I think. But you can kind of take your pick on which Rockruff you like. Now, this Lycanroc GX, in my opinion, is the better of the 2. Midnight form. It is, of course, still fighting type because it's a rock type. Ability is Bloody Eye, so this is essentially Lysander built into this Pokemon. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with their active Pokemon, meaning you get to choose, because you may switch. So, this is a built-in Lysander. This is Bright Look Ninetales, essentially, at its finest. Great ability for sure. It's got 2 attacks, Claw Swipe for 110 for fighting in a double colorless, and Death Rogue GX, 50 damage times the number of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So it's got a pretty decent GX attack. Claw Swipe, 110, you can boost the damage, obviously, with, you know, strong energy and stuff like that, but it's kind of mediocre in that sense, but this is definitely a great support ability. Alright, let's take a look at Minior. Swift, 20 damage. It's not affected by weakness, resistance, or any other effects. This is the core form in the artwork here. And we've got Murkrow going on to the dark types. It's got some pearls in its mouth there. Whirlwind. Doesn't really do much of anything. 10 damage. Switch your opponent's active Pokemon with one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Honchkrow. With all the Honchkrow. Got the Honchkrow here with the flight of Murkrow going off behind him there. Feint attack, 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, and Ravenclaw does 10 damage plus 10 more damage times the number of damage counters on all of your opponent's Pokemon in play. Okay, so 10 damage plus 10 more damage times, okay, times the number of damage counters, so that's 10, I guess if you spread damage around, this could be pretty powerful for a double colorless. Alright, let's see what kind of trickery Sableye has in this set. Limitation. Your opponent can't play supporter cards from their hand during their next turn. Oh my gosh. Oh, Sableye. Always just causing problems for everybody. Scratch, 20 damage. We got Pangoro. Sky Uppercut, 70 damage. Don't apply resistance for this attack's damage. And Magnum Punch for 130. We got Beldum. Metal type. Core Beam, 20 damage. Discard 1 Metal LNG attached to this Pokemon. Matang, Ram, 20 damage. We've got Core Beam again for 2 more energy, does 80 damage and discard an energy attached to it. And then we have Metagross GX. Geotech System. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may attach either a Psychic or Metal Energy from your discard pile to your active Pokemon. So you're going to be discarding with these 2 attacks, but you're going to get them back with Metagross. It's got an attack, Giga Hammer, 150 damage, but it can't be used during your next turn. And Algorithm GX. This is kind of nuts, but that's the way GX attacks are supposed to work. Search your deck for up to 5 cards and put them into your hand. That's computer search on like every steroid that's ever been made. The only difference is this is susceptible to an N, where computer search, you play your turn and you just play the cards out that you want. But this can be really hurt by an N, unfortunately, so I would say until N rotates out, Algorithm GX is probably not the best GX attack. We got Cottony here, Continuous Tumble, flip until you get Tails, does 10 damage times the number of heads. Whimsicott, 80 HP, Overabundance of Fuzz. If this defending Pokemon is knocked out during your next turn, take 2 additional prize cards. So if you do this, and then you knock that Pokemon out, you can take essentially up to 4 prize cards. If you do it with a Delta Plus Pokemon, you can take 5 prize cards off of 1 Pokemon. That's kind of crazy, but it's very, very situational and highly unlikely, but very fun though, I have to say. Alright, so we had Slowbro for N, we had Helioptile for me, and now we've got Goomy for Lucas, my other son. Bubble, flip a coin if heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed, and by the way, Yarn Goomy is adorable, I have to say. Absolutely adorable. Tackle, 20 damage. We got Sliggoo Division. Search your deck for up to 2 Sliggoo, put them on your bench, shuffle your deck, very much like Frogadier, which is kind of neat because my Pokemon is Greninja, so it's kind of fitting that the Stage 1 Frogadier also has the same exact kind of attack that the Stage 1 Sliggoo has. Except for you can only get 2 with this. You can get as much as 3 with the other Frogadier. And then Tackle for 20. Goodra. Power Whip for a colorless. Does 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon times the number of energy attached to this Pokemon. And then Beat Slider. 130 damage. Switch the defending Pokemon with one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Your opponent chooses the new active Pokemon. And he looks like he means business here. But unfortunately, there hasn't really been a very good Goodra card, and this does not fit the bill. Here's a card we haven't seen in a very, very, very long time. Castform. Castform has not been in the TCG for, gosh, I don't even know how long. 4 casts, choose up to 2 stadium cards from your deck, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. And Water Pulse, 30 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. Patratz. Peek. Look at the top card of your opponent's deck, then return it to the top of the deck. Tackle, 20 damage. We got Watchog. Assess. Look at the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck and discard 1. Return the other card to the top of the deck and slam. Flip 2 coins. The attack does 60 damage times the number of heads. Now we've got Fletchling. Growl. Any damage done by the defending's Pokemon attack during your opponent's next turn is reduced by 20. And Flap for 20. We got Fletchender. Flap for 20. Razor Wind for 40. Flip a tail. Flip a coin if tails. The attack does nothing. And Talonflame. The last Pokemon of the set before we get into the trainers. Nitro Charge. 30 damage. Search your deck for a fire energy and attach it to this Pokemon. And then Arrow Loop. 90 damage. Return all energy from this Pokemon to your hand. Alright, now this is where things get interesting. Aqua Patch. This is a very big card for the format. Attach a basic water energy from your discard pile to one of your benched water Pokemon. This is going to be big because Dark Patch was huge for Dark-type Pokemon back in the days of Dark Explorers onward. This is going to affect the future of water Pokemon for quite a while. Very, 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 very solid card. Alright, next up we have Rescue Stretcher. Choose 1 Pokemon from your discard pile, put it in your hand, or choose 3 and shuffle them into your deck. So this is kind of neat. It's kind of like Buddy Buddy Rescue meets Super Rod, except for it's just all Pokemon. Mallow. Mallow's kind of cool. Choose 2 cards from your deck and shuffle the rest. Put the chosen cards on top of your deck in any order. Now we have Hilltop Stream. Once during his or her turn, each player may search his or her deck for a water or a fighting Pokemon, basic Pokemon, and play it on his or her bench. If a player does this, that player shuffles their deck. Here we have Wishy-Washy GX Full Art. Here is Tapu Lele GX Full Art. Again, expect this card to be even more than the other one. There is Lycanroc GX Full Art. There's Metagross GX Full Art. Now, Mallow. This is a very nice looking full art, I have to say. The other ones look kind of plain, but when they get into the trainers, they actually do some stuff with it. The background, you can see the palm trees in the background, makes it look very tropical, and it's very fitting to her character, obviously, with those berries. Then we have our Rainbow Rare / Hyper Rares. There's our Wishy-Washy GX, our Tapu Lele GX, again, probably going to be the most expensive card in the set right here. We've got Lycanroc. I love how they did the pattern here in the background. Looks very, very nice. Then we got Metagross. Now our secret rares. Let's do it again. Aqua Patch, sure, it just came into the set. Let's make a secret rare for it. There it is. This is going to be another card that's going to be pretty valuable. And Enhanced Hammer gets a reprinted secret rare as well. But this one's been a lot more recent because we saw this one in Primal Clash. So this is probably the most recent secret rare reprint. And we have Fighting Energy secret rare. So that is going to do it. This is what you guys can expect to see for Sun and Moon 2, otherwise known as Guardians Rising, coming up in May. Now, again, the cards that we have said hold some pretty good competitive value. Going to be, of course, Enhanced Hammer, because it's always been a staple. Aqua Patch, definitely going to have some effect on the meta. Lycanroc GX definitely has effect on the meta. Tapu Lele is going to be very, very major. Maybe not as much in the start, but definitely as time goes by, it'll become more and more valuable and more useful in the decks as Shaymin EX is rotated out. But I think it'll start off being good in most decks, at least as a one-of. Mallow probably has some playability potential behind it. Again, maybe not this second, but eventually. Going back up again. The stadiums are very good, I have to say. I feel like there's some playability factor behind that. Rescue Stretcher is probably going to be good for Pokemon that have, or for decks that have Pokemon that get knocked out easily. And as far as going through the regular Pokemon, anything that truly stands out to me, I can't really think of very many. Sableye with Limitation might be in a troll deck of some form, maybe played with Vileplume. I can definitely see that becoming a thing because blocking off supporters and items is just nasty and gruesome, I have to say. That's probably going to become some kind of a deck out style deck for people. Trash Valance is another attack that probably holds some kind of competitive value at some point. Maybe as a finishing cleanup kind of Pokemon, maybe a last-ditch effort if everything else is knocked out. I don't see it being a staple by any means, but you never know. Hot Poison is a pretty darn good ability as well, poisoning and burning, so that's nice support. Going up again, Poltergeist, actually it has some potential as well, having all those trainer cards in the opponent's hand, dealing 30 damage times that. I mean, all they gotta have is, what, like 3 to do 90 for a double colorless? That's pretty solid. Max Potion and Field Blower, definitely major contenders, especially Field Blower, getting tool removal back in the game again. Tapu Koko, I think, has quite a bit of competitive value as well. Turtonator, maybe not right away, but I feel like Nitro Tank GX is a pretty good GX attack for spreading out energy for fire types, or any kind of Pokemon that can utilize fire energy. Alolan Ninetales potentially has some value in there as well. I think all these full arts here obviously reprinted. This Stadium card for sure. Maybe Energy Lotto will replace Professor's Letter, perhaps. I mean, 7 cards. It's pretty likely that you're going to come into some kind of an energy. I think some decks may make some kind of use of this. I don't think it's going to become a staple in every single deck, but you never know. I do kind of like this Swellow, I have to say. I know I said it before, but I got to say it again. Dealing 20 damage, then if you can prevent your opponent from attacking, then you can deal 120. Obviously, Lysander's a thing, and you can get around it that way, but it's kind of neat nonetheless. I like the effect behind it. Comfey, blocking off special conditions, could play a pretty big part with all of these special conditions coming back into the game after taking a little bit of a hiatus. Machoke, the ability Intimidating Stance, may have some effect on the game as well, being able to block the placement of damage counters and also straight up bench damage. That's kind of major. I think, in this particular format with Decidueye, obviously placing damage counters down and getting around Mr. Mime in that sense. Other than that, Lowland Sandslash's ability is kind of cool, but hitting and running 50 damage, maybe, I don't know. I think that's kind of a low possibility. Victini may prove to have some kind of value in it, and Golisopod as well with that attack. Resolute Claw may have some potential as well, but I think that's pretty much going to cover everything here for Guardians Rising. That's my nice little recap and wrap up of everything that we saw here. Let me know what you guys think of this set. I personally am very excited for it. I'm going to do my best to try to get as many boxes of this set as I can. Right now, I think I'm looking at getting anywhere between 12 to 15 boxes of this set, just because of how much good stuff there is here. I feel like it's a very competitive set and will play a big part in the metagame, especially after rotation. And quite a bit beforehand as well. But you guys can let me know what you think of the set in the comment section down below. Are you guys excited? We got pre-releases coming up in just a couple of weeks, guys. Can you believe it? It is finally time to get back into a new set. I am super excited. I love new sets. So much excitement and hype that they bring to the table. So much good stuff. So many new decks to be made. Some spicing up Deck Tech Thursdays and Battle Frontier Fridays is what we live for here on the Pokemon Evolutionaries. So if you guys enjoyed this video and are looking forward to more TCG content, be sure to subscribe for more of that, because there's plenty more to come as we get closer and closer to the new set release. So, with that being said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this set review. Leave your thoughts down below, and we will see you guys next time. I'm Professor K for the Pokemon Evolutionaries. You all take care. Have a great day.